I would like to introduce Cristiana Eltrayan. She works as a therapist, international holistic speaker, and author. Additionally, she often travels for opening and maintaining energy portals along the planet, following the planetary energy lines and also the cosmic rhythms. These works are the result of her inner guidance that the author is receiving regarding these energy works. And her workshops and classes have been the main theme: the energetic nourishment, the Taoist emotional intelligence, and pranic methods of healing and recalibration, converging to the consciousness of unity. She combines the ancient knowledge with the modern scientific discoveries to bring a complex and complete picture on the unlimited nature of human potential. And with this, I will invite Christiana to take over the platform. And I welcome Christiana heartfully.
Thanks everyone for being here. I'm really honored to be again with you. Really grateful for this webinar. Everyone who's on the other channels, please go on our Facebook or the Pyramid Times subscription channel. Thank you for being here, everyone. I'm hoping for this to be an interactive webinar, so ask questions. We're talking about the people who don't need to eat, people who are living without food, people who are not needing physical food. They can just survive on liquids or water or even just breath work. So I know this is a challenging topic for some of you. I want to know what you want to know about this. So feel free to ask questions as much as possible so that we make it interactive. I'm really grateful for this webinar today because I have so much to share. So many of you have seen already probably the first webinar we did with Tina about the Pranic World book. And we're going to be together for about 1 hour. So just at the beginning, I'm going to just present a little of my experience with people who are living on prana, chi, energy nourishment. And then, of course, I'm going to take your questions. So really grateful for your questions, really grateful for getting me in the zone of knowing what you need to know. So as you probably heard, the first time I was hearing about this topic was when I read the autobiography of a yogi, and then I heard about someone really sharing webinars in Romania about it, in my country, right? So when I heard that someone was coming to Romania to talk about this topic, I was really, really interested in going and hearing about it, because for me, from the first time I heard about it, it seemed true and doable and like a natural possibility. As a kid, I was telling everyone we are all energy, that everything is made of energy, that everything we are is energy. So to me, it seemed just really natural that someone is able to be nourished by energy. So when I heard about it, it seemed like, yeah, right, something really, really doable. I was aware from my own experience that the more you do breath work and yoga and qigong, the more you feel less hungry. The more your hunger disappear. My experience is that I start my morning sometimes with some idea of having a smoothie or having a chai or tea. And then I do my yoga or I do my breath work or I do some meditation, and this need suddenly disappears, right? The hunger or the craving or the idea of having certain products as nourishment goes away, right? After my practice. I've noticed also in certain workshops. I was doing a workshop with one of my teachers in Thailand, and every morning we were practicing Qigong, right? Before I was going to the practice, I was thinking of taking breakfast, but when I was arriving and doing the practice, at the end of the practice, I wasn't feeling the need for breakfast. So my breakfast was skipped, my lunch was skipped, and so I noticed what when I have this practice of qigong or breath work or meditation or yoga, I don't need to eat after it. So my natural conclusion was that the more we practice, the less we need food, right? And then I saw many others, colleagues of mine, friends who were having this type of practice. I noticed them, not eating for days as we traveled together, as we worked together, as we were going to breakfast, lunch, dinner, they weren't eating. So this made me believe that, well, it is possible for me and it is possible for others. At this moment, I'm having many, many colleagues that I'm collaborating with that are being nourished in this way just by their daily practice. Yeah, so this was my experience at the beginning, you know, noticing myself and noticing others, that the more we practice, the less we need food or drinks as nourishment. Along the years, I've also studied and researched to see why is this possible? How is this possible? How come some people really need 3 meals per day and others can just go with breath work and qigong and tai chi and all this stuff? You know, why some of us can do it and some are hungry all day long. And I've noticed that it's really about how pure our channels are, right? In your yogi tradition, we've all learned that there are energy channels all the way across the body. They are called nadis in Indian tradition, and they are called just acupuncture channels in Chinese tradition, right? But all the main traditions, the Tibetans, the Indian traditions, the Zen practitioners, and all the others, they know about this. Even now, quantum physics and modern medicine is discovering these channels, these ley lines of energy, if you will. And some practices are now entering the modern medicine, you know, about the energy channels. So these are like channels of energy going through the whole body. They fuel certain areas of your body, they fuel all the organs, they connect the organs, they connect the chakras. And the purer they are, you know, if they're uncluttered, if they're flowing harmoniously, then the energy can flow through them, right? And that's when the clearer your energy channels are, the more energy you can run through your body. Same with the chakras. You know, there are 7 main chakras and many, many other secondary chakras. And the more we evolve, the more we upgrade to other layers of other chakras, you know, to up to 13 chakras, up to 33 chakras. There's no end to it, right? And these chakras are just nodes of energy, if you will, or specific um, energy jointer points where certain organs are fueled, certain areas of your body are energized. And if the chakras are clear and energized, then you can encompass more energy. That's why the yoga practice or the qigong practice or the breath work is helping so much with this type of pranic nourishment, because it's clearing and energizing the chakras. So this so far, I believe it's logical. Does anyone in the audience has noticed that after a meditation or after a specific exercise, you feel less hungry than before that exercise? Did you notice that ever in your practice? Because I know many of you are here are meditators. Or sometimes you feel nervous or you feel like binging on something, and if you take a bath or take care of yourself, um, then after that you don't feel hungry. Did you notice that? Yes, I'm seeing so many yeses. Everybody is raising hands and saying yes, yes, yes. So yeah, it's for everyone, right? So many people in the audience that aren't even interested in practicing breatharianism or having focus on, you know, not eating anymore. You're all having this experience, right? Of the more we're practicing, the less hungry we feel. Well, imagine if certain people are practicing for many, many years. Like, I'm practicing meditation since I was a kid, and I'm constantly practicing meditation since 10 years ago, since I was 28, 27. There are people who are practicing this for 40 years, right? And they are going deeper and deeper into detoxing their body, detoxing their energy channels, detoxing and harmonizing and enhancing their chakras. Imagine that these people aren't needing so much food anymore. Some aren't needing food at all. They discover themselves all of a sudden not being hungry, right? They are noticing that hold on, I'm not feeling any feeling of taking food through my mouth anymore. I'm even feeling discomfort or like lowering my vibration when I take solid food. Some say that, right? Why? Because their vibration is getting so high and their channels are getting so pure and their chakras are getting so aligned that the energy of the food is lower than the energy of their body, because it's eventually all about raising your vibration. It's all about going into a higher frequency. And when you go into a higher frequency, you're naturally and consequently feeling that the energy in the universe, the universal energy or the ethereal energy or prana, is your nourishment. So I was saying that as a consequence of our practice, our channels and chakras are getting enhanced, our frequency is higher, and we no longer need physical food, or we need less and less physical food. That's why so many people now are going in a lighter diet naturally. After practicing meditation, after having a certain daily practice for several months or several years, you're naturally feeling to go a vegetarian or vegan or fasting, intermittent fasting for a while or on the basis. You're naturally going into that mode because you are in a higher vibration. So primary nourishment and the people who, are needing food as nourishment is not because they refrain from eating. It's because they no longer need, they no longer hunger or crave for food. That's the reason, right? So somebody I was traveling with recently noticed that I made a soup. I made a soup and I just left it on the table, right? I made several portions of it, several servings of it, and I just left it there and I didn't eat. So the people around ate, but I didn't. And somebody noticed, well, it's good that you can abstain from it because it's so good, it tastes so good, but you can abstain from it, so you have a lot of self-control. I said, no, it's not about self-control. I'm not controlling myself not to eat it. I'm just not needing it right now, and I might not need it today at all. But I made it because I knew others would need it. So um, for me, I never abstain from food. But if I feel that my body is not needing food, and that's most of the time, I'm not eating, right? It's no longer necessary for me to eat out of habit, out of emotional reasons, out of the need to cover up certain imbalances in my system, because over the years I've purified my system enough to be able to get over these aspects. And I know it feels really strange and like foreign notion to most of you, but it's only very rarely that I need to take very small quantities of physical food at this moment. It's no longer necessary for me to eat constantly, right? 3 meals in a day or even 1 meal in a day is not necessary for me. I do prefer liquid smoothies or juices, or my favorite blend now is this uh, orange with turmeric and pepper and ginger juice that I'm having shots of every day. So that's my best nourishment. And when I do take small amounts of physical food like almonds, cashew or cashew cheese, there's this vegan cheese in small bites, I feel a little heavier or I feel sleepier. And I usually use a little bit of physical food at evening if I can't sleep, right? I take a little physical food, a fistful of some nuts or something to be able to sleep during that night. Because the less you eat, the less you need sleep, the less you need to rest your body. Actually, your body is getting very, very energized and really active and there's so much creativity flowing through. So how many of you have fasted here? And maybe you've noticed that during the not eating time, you were becoming more energized and you were becoming more vivid and more active. I want to just hear if anybody has this experience. Any of you have fasted? Because I know some of you have been in the Navratri or Shivaratri and you did a lot of days. Somebody says fasted for 48 days. It felt very energized. Congrats. I would love to talk more about it with you. And maybe you can come to the Pranic Festival in India in March and we can talk about it. That's interesting. That's a long amount of time. So many people, right, when they're fasting the first days or the first time they're fasting, they're feeling maybe tired or they are having some detox detox symptoms, but after several fasting stages, they end up really being really energized during their fasting time, and they're actually more energized and creative and focused during their fasting time than during their eating time. So that's because your gut system is actually producing 400% more melatonin when you're fasting, more melatonin in the gut than in your brain. So you're getting all this melatonin, you're getting all this ATP as a result of the melatonin production, because melatonin is the one that's regulating the ATP. And ATP is the very energy that's nourishing your cells. So therefore, you're feeling energized and happy and pumped even when you're fasting after you've detoxed your body. So if you that's the thing that I'm referring to. You have to go through some stages because before you reach this state, you first purify your body, your nadis, energy channels, and chakras, and then as a consequence, the energy flows through you directly and uninhibited, and you feel really energized when you don't eat. And it's important that you tune into your body and notice that sometimes you feel really energized when you don't eat, and sometimes it's necessary for you to eat. Maybe your frequency has dropped, maybe you've had an emotional experience, maybe you got worried for something, maybe you had an issue or you got in a denser environment. That's when you really need to eat and not prolong your fasting because you're damaging your body. So really be in tune with your body and with your energy system when you're fasting. Hi Valentine, hi Angelique, hi everybody. I'm gonna soon show you a video of a person that has a yogi that has lived without needing to take physical food for 75 years. I met him in the Pranic Festival in India in Bangalore last year. He was one of my guests in that festival. He had traveled for 12 hours and 92 years old to be able to join us at the festival. And he allowed me to test his chakras and his nadi in the rooftop of the mount where the Amrita flows. He allowed me to test that and record it because he wanted to leave a legacy to humanity, because short after this, he left his body and he was knowing this, so he wanted to have this filmed and recorded. He also has been tested in hospitals for 10 days one time and for 14 days the second time, monitored with 35 specialists, and his energy levels and all the body symptoms were even better than normal, right? They were very good because he was in that state for 70 years at that time. So I'm gonna just play this video. You'll only be able to watch it on Zoom. So if everybody is agreeing, I'm gonna just share screen now and go ahead and show you this beautiful friend, yogi of mine, that has wanted us to have that experience of seeing him and testing his system. His name is Pralajani. Those of you who can't see the video now, look at my YouTube channel and you find the video called 75 Years with No Food. Here it is.
You feel Both heart.
He has two hearts, yes.
Yes.
I'm married.
See you.
Two hearts.
Two hearts. One of the Shiv and one of the Shakti.
This was the yogi that I was referring to. His name is Patrijimeditation. His vibration was super, super high and beautiful emanation of love. Yeah, he was healing people just by people being in his presence. You know, so many of you are knowing that these saints and sages in your country have this ability, and saints and sages all over the world have this ability of being nourished without food and healing people through their presence. So
Both heart.
He has two hearts, yes.
Yes.
I'm married.
See you.
Two hearts.
Two hearts. One of the Shiv and one of the Shakti.
this was the video, and I hope now everybody could see it. I was hoping that now it's working because it's really so important to have this experience and to be able to actually see that such person exists. In my experience, I've met many people. I'm organizing pranic festivals since 5 years ago. We've organized 5 editions of pranic festivals in India and Romania. I'm participating in pranic gatherings since 10 years ago. So gatherings where people who are nourished in this way are coming and presenting their work. So to me, it's all natural that I meet these people, that I stay with them, that I ask them about their life, that I learn about how they do it. And it's natural that I present their work to the world as well, because that's one of my roles in the world now. And for me, it has been great to have the occasion to meet all these people, to learn from them, and to learn what my body was really doing, because for so long I felt to decrease my food intake and to lighten up my diet and to go detox my body so much, and to have all that time of fasting that I did during my early years in 2012, 2011, so on. And I wasn't knowing exactly what I was doing until I met all these people, and they literally explained to me how it works, and how they did it, and what were their experiences, their do's and don'ts, their challenges, and all this stuff. And to me, it's great that we have so many people in the world now, thousands and thousands of people that are open to discuss their journey, to discuss their experience, to be tested even. Some of them have been tested in hospitals like Patrijimeditation, Michael Werner, Jasmine. So many have been tested and their results were really, really good in some cases. And so this helps us as humanity understand that there's an alternative to the 3 meals a day and 3 snacks in between that keeps us bound to the idea that we always have to have food around to be able to survive. Especially nowadays that we are having these challenging times, and so much of our system depends resources and of having access to resources, and so many have been forced to stay in the house and so on. Especially now is necessary for us to know that we can be free from it. We can be autonomous. We can be in a different state. We can be in a better state, right? In a state of autonomy, and choose whether we eat 3 meals a day or not, choose whether we want to have meat-based products or not, choose whether we want to clutter our body all the time with solid food. That's my message. So when I talk about the people who are not eating, I'm not doing it for with the purpose of convincing everyone to stop eating. I think humanity is not yet ready for it, but I know all humanity is now ready to decrease our food intake. I know all humanity is ready now for vegetarianism and veganism. Our system has transitioned for most people from carbon to crystal. They are transitioning, and they're needing a better fuel, lighter food. And as a consequence, we need to look seriously at what we're eating and why, and decide if we want to keep cluttering our body and numb ourselves out with all this food that is really not necessary for us, and to use all these planetary resources, even, right? In order to cultivate, grow food, because land and huge areas of the planet could be utilized in different ways if we have this awareness that really we need less going through the mouth and into our stomach. And we all have access to the practices that we are referring to. We all have access to yoga, to qigong, to meditation. We can do breath work anywhere, all the time. It's not that you're having to have special moments for breakfast. You don't need special moments for breath work. You can do it all the time in your car and in your office, and during your cooking. Even if you do breath work during your cooking, you'll notice that you might not need to eat the food you cooked out at the end of the day. So take a look at that habit of yours of eating and see, why do you really need to do all this eating all the time. Some people do this because they want to be with a family or friends. Some people do this because somebody else in the room started eating, and they're not hungry, but they want to join and be part of that gathering or community or gang. Some people just have a schedule, right? It's 8 a.m. I'm going to sit myself at a table. It's 12 p.m. or 1 p.m. I'm going to have lunch, but they don't think of it. They don't check with their bodies. They don't verify if there is really necessary for them to insert some fuel in their bodies with some food. You need to do this all the time, and to always be aware if you really need it. And if you are aware and if you do your practice, you'll notice that you'll need less and less and less. And really, it's important even for economical reasons, right? There's a scientist friend of mine that I'm loving so much. His name is Nassim Aramein. That he's quantum physicist, and he's also proposed for a Nobel Prize nowadays. Who 25 years ago became a breatharian, or one that is nourished by prana just naturally, and he did that shift for economical reasons, right? He wanted to save some money. He didn't want to buy so much food. He was studying a lot of physics, so he was in high state of consciousness from learning a lot, and he was also doing a lot of time in nature, like hiking and climbing. And because all that combination of factors, uh, he noticed himself that, hold on, I'm not eating because I want to save some money, and yet I'm not hungry. How is this possible? So that's how he literally stayed in that breatharian state for about 3 years. I can play a little video if you want. for us to see him and to see his statement about his breatharian journey, but also his explanation from a scientific perspective.
What's typically called breatharianism. So we can think of it as accessing direct from the vacuum, as you've just been describing, that abundant field. This is from Laura, who's saying, I'm curious how the vacuum theory explains the mechanism of.
And so basically, he was a vegetarian until his death a few months ago. I think he had started being a vegetarian when he was 18. He died at 95. And he was put in isolation chamber for many weeks, you know, and studied and, you know, AKG, everything, every day, continuous testing, and, you know, including, they have ultrasound scans of his bladder filling up with fluids and reabsorbing in the body and filling up with fluids and reabsorb, because he stopped drinking too, and, you know, and so, and then they recorded, you know, humidity in the room and everything, like they just, you know, sanitized the whole thing. Anyway, so these things, which I've experienced myself, you know, are the result of being able to access energy at a different scale than the scale of the material world. And, you know, we know that energy is there, right? For instance, the electromagnetic field, whatever, you know, like you can think of many things. But I don't think that it's something, there's Christiana. I don't think that it's actually something that is unnatural, meaning that when you consider how much a human eats and then consider the energy it takes to digest the food, right? Let's just say, basically, the human is like an over-unity machine, right? There's a part of it that you can't quite account for. You know, you have like mitochondria that are like little motors that are spinning at like 7,000 RPM, and you get like millions of them, right? And they're like ripping out electrons and, you know, making ATP, and like just sitting here doing nothing all day, you're gonna burn approximately your body weight in ATP, you know, which is non-trivial. You know, that's a lot of little electrons, and, you know, then you're gonna, if you run a marathon, you're gonna recycle something like a ton of ATP during that run, right? So, and you probably didn't get that from your breakfast that morning, right? Just didn't, you know. And so basically, you can already say that we're living off this prana that the sadhu describes, right? But you're mixing it with like taking the prana that's encapsulated, like I was saying earlier, in the structure of space, and the prana that's available, that the free energy that's available. There's actually a term in physics, either than an over-unity motor or a new over-unity device, that's called free energy. It's part of, like, you know, the way you calculate thermodynamics or, you know, systems. And that, it's not like coming out of nowhere in this case. But basically what I'm saying is that there is energy that, so you're like an electromagnetic radiator, right, in the field, because you're actually fairly hot.
So you see, there's explanation even from scientific perspective. Those of you who want to see Nassim Harmeem's video about it, I'm just gonna place it, see if I can place it here as well in the chat box. You have a full playlist. You have a full playlist of scientific facts about breatharianism and pranic nourishment that I just placed in the chat box. It's also on Facebook. And if you go on my YouTube, in case you lose the link, go on my YouTube and look for breatharian science playlist. That's how it's called. And you find there many discussions of me and various scientists, especially with Nassim Harmeem, that are referring to how people are able to be nourished by energy instead of food, or in addition to food, non-solid energy. This is the name of the playlist on my YouTube. So those of you watching on other channels, you can find that on my YouTube. This also in the Facebook, it is placed. So you can look it up and learn how this is possible from scientific perspective. Also on my website, soulhealingacademy.com, you find a lot of articles about the scientific aspect of pranic nourishment. And I'm going to also take the book and show it to you for those of you who haven't been in the previous workshop. This is the Pranic World book, the book that has been written in 2018. I've been guided to write it for people to be able to learn about pranic nourishment, about people that are nourished by light, chi, or prana, and about how they did it. And like I said, there's so many ways, there's so many possibilities, and this book describes all these ways that I met so far. And it also describes the science of it. So what's happening in the pineal gland, what's happening in the gut system, what's happening with the hunger hormones, the leptin and ghrelin, what's happened with the ATP and the melatonin production, what's happening during fasting, all this stuff, it's described in the book from my own experience, but mostly also from the experience of the people that I've met. And there are many, many resources that I've created during the years to help people understand about it. Apart from the pranic festivals where you can actually meet these people face to face, like last year in India, we had this sadhu for 75 years, no food, but there's people for 6 years, for 10 years, for 30 years, not using solid food, and you can meet them face to face, ask them questions, join them like family. They're really open and sharing. So it's a beautiful experience to be in such a festival, because we're actually meeting all together like a family every year, either in India or in Romania, and we're having these wonderful talks, these beautiful conferences, and the sharing after it, the dancing, the bonding, it's so beautiful. And there's also online experience of it. So we've created this summit online that I'm placing the link now in the comments, where I've interviewed more than 35 people or 40 people in the scientific world and also in the pranic world, the breatharian world, that are explaining their experience and how this is possible and what's happened to them and how they see it from scientific perspective. So this summit is ongoing. I'm just inviting Greg Braden to join us, and Nassim has joined us, and Jasmine, and so many others, doctors and scientists and masters that have had this beautiful openness with us to talk and explain and share their experience, and some of them have been tested and so on. So the point of this work of mine is to show humanity that we are able to exist in a different way, basically, that we have unlimited abilities and capacities, and that we have access to infinite resources and infinite richness, if you want, infinite abundance. Once we are aware that energy can nourish us, there's no longer the fear of death, or the fear of hunger, which is one of the main human fears. And from there, you feel ever abundant. You can go anywhere and not depend on external resources, right? I mean, yes, you still depend a little bit on having a flight if you don't want to walk all the way from Romania to India, in my case, or having, fuel for the car until they make free energy cars or stuff like this. But your dependence on external resources diminishes, and your freedom is increased. Actually, my book is a book about freedom. This one, it's part of a three edition series. This one is being free from hunger, and then I'm going to write the one about being free from fear. After this fear wave on the planet is ending, I'm going to just write about it. No wonder that we're having this experience as a humanity. And then I'm going to write one about being free from concepts, all the ideas that bind us and keep us stuck in a certain paradigm, in a certain way of being, in a certain functioning pattern that, it might be deconstructed at any time if you are wanting to be free. So this is why I keep sharing about this experience, because we need to be free, we need to be boundless, we need to be ever abundant, because we are made in the creation of the Creator, in the image of the Creator, right? We are universal force, we are universal energy, we are one with the one that is breathing us all. Why would we ever be feeling poor or feeling bound by matter, and saints and sages all over the world have proven it by, either not needing physical food or dematerializing or duplicating their bodies or reducing their bodies to a small child's size, in the moment of their death, like they do in the Tibetan tradition when they attain the rainbow body, or just disappearing with the whole body, leaving just the nails and the hair behind. This type of things that is recorded and reported in scientific communities and also in spiritual communities all over the world is showing us that there's different levels to human existence. There's higher possibilities for us. There's not, but it's all about how we share or how we spend time and how our lifestyle is. That's all it is about. Netflix or binging on soap operas or quarreling with the girlfriend, boyfriend all time is not going to bring us in a heightened state of consciousness. It's not going to help us evolve much as human beings. The spiritual practice is essential to be able to, one, keep our balance, especially in this troubled time, keep focus, especially in complicated relationships, and evolve ourselves past or above and beyond the normal human condition, right? Which is, to me, really, really boring, right? Where we share how the body can be educated but also purified, to be able to perceive prana as nourishment and adjust its own body weight, right? At the beginning, we all lose weight. I lost about 8 kilos around 2012, 2013, when I did my first detox stages and fasting stages. I was in a dark room for 10 days with just juices, no light, and meditation somewhere in Thailand, and after these 10 days, I couldn't eat at all for about another 40 days. So in that time, even though I was feeling very good and my body clearly didn't want any physical food at all whatsoever, I couldn't even taste water in some days because of my vibration was very, very high and my system was calibrating. I still lost weight at that time. Why? Because my energy channels weren't so, highly energized. They weren't really decluttered, and my body needed a lot of detox still. So I was just at the beginning of my detox process. I was doing detox for 2 years already since 2011, but it wasn't enough, and I was losing weight. Also, my mind wasn't knowing that prana is not, or wasn't fully accepting, so to speak, that prana is nourishment. So it still believed, and my body still believed, that we need physical food in order to feel nourished and maintain our weight. Even though my body was feeling great, my mind was somewhat resisting to that situation, it wasn't fully accepting it. So it took a while, some years even, for me to really educate my mind and reprogram my cells. Two important things: educate the mind, reprogram the cells, and further detox my body in order to perceive prana as nourishment. So there are certain formulas, if you will, or you could call them affirmation or programming, that we're using to really educate or educate is the word, to educate the cells that they can be nourished by energy and not necessarily by solid food. So there's a body programming and there's a mind programming that we need to do. And also there's necessary for us to do the research to really like educate at the mind level and know how this is possible. For me, it was necessary for understand even at the mind level how and why this is possible. And this is why I did so much research and I talked to so many scientists and I did all these interviews and videos and stuff. I was actually educating myself in the process, and the whole humanity who wants to watch as a result, because my mind needed to understand and accept fully that yes, there's ATP, there's melatonin who regulates the ATP. The more we increase the melatonin level, the more the ATP level increases, so we have free energy in the body. Melatonin also regulates the hunger hormones, the leptin and ghrelin, and therefore you no longer feel hungry during the fasting time or the prana nourishment time. And that's how it's possible, and there's several other explanations that scientists and geneticists have provided for me and various books and articles that helped my mind to accept and make that switch to deprogram itself from the condition that without food you will die, and without solid food we can only live to a certain amount of days. Everybody says that. And understand that no, without food you can actually live on prana, you can live on etherical energy, you can live on a higher energy that makes up all matter, and all matter is made by this solidified energy that is in everything. And once you tap into it, like Nassim Armin was saying, you no longer need the solid stuff to take it and digest it and process it and consume energy to have this outcome of feeling nourished. So this is how along the years I've trained myself. For you, it might be something different, but for me, having a strong mind at that time, I needed to educate that one first, and also detox and reprogram my body. But as I said, we share much more about it during the pranic process. 1 or 2 hours every day. We meet every evening for 8 days. We're having lots of fun with a beautiful group. Usually there's super high, beautiful people. And we meditate together and really experience pranic nourishment every evening and explain and reprogram how this is possible.
Okay. Thank you. Just one more question. Is sunlight a necessity for like staying on prana energy, or can you do this without enough sunlight? Because I live far north and we have very dark times there half of the year.
Hence the light devices, right? Where do you live?
In Norway.
Yeah, good,
Yeah.
good. Because I have people from Norway that are on prana actually, and hence my answer: no, it's not necessarily. There's people living in Russia in areas that are mostly cold and not sunny. There's people living. all over the world. We have to understand that this energy is within us, not outside of us. That's the key, right? There's various ways of tapping into it. Sun gazing is one of the ways. It's true. Sun gazing is highly recommended, but sun gazing, like all the other methods, is a method of purification and heightening the vibration. It's not the very nourishment. So not the sun is the nourishment. The sun is the energy that can fuel certain channels, heal certain things, tame and clear the mind. It's doing a lot of stuff. It's very good. I love sun. I sun gaze every day, but it's not the nourishment. So it's, we have this energy inside ourselves. In my tradition, in our country, there's a very ancient tradition of sages. Not many people know about it on the globe because Romania is not so well known in terms of spiritual practices and so on. Compared to India, we don't have so much of a tradition around the world. But there was a saint here, or they were calling him a god. A person who has stayed in a cave for 3 years. Everybody has thought it was the country leader at that time. Everybody has thought he had died in the cave because he went in a retreat and never got out of there those 3 years. But after 3 years, he went out. He was having some really beautiful superpowers or abilities. He was very different, much more upgraded in consciousness. So that's why the whole population at that time here, they were convinced he became a god, right? That's pretty much what Jesus has done with the resurrection, or Buddha with his meditations, all this stuff of transcending the human nature and going into the superhuman or upgraded features of the human body. However, after he went out of this cave, Zalmoxis, who is his name, the saint, has taken 10 disciples. He was taking about 10 disciples in the mountains, and he was teaching them about how to access prana, how to access energy, right? As nourishment, as healing power, and as energy to recalibrate entire areas, like villages were being healed and harmonized in this way, or the country was being kept in a high vibration just by the practice of these stages. He was helping them to tap into the original energy of or the universal energy. And the first initiation was to master the elements and be nourished and energized with the earth, water, fire, air, ether, and then the higher energies, including sun, light. Then he was teaching them how to energize their mental energy and so on. And the last initiation, the most powerful for the most advanced of them, not all of them would reach that level, was to lock them in a cave, completely isolated from the outside world, completely in the dark, completely, he was creating like an energy shield, if you want, where they couldn't access the elements, they couldn't tune into the energy of earth, water, fire, and all they learned before. And the only possibility for them to be alive was to tap into this inner energy, this inner cosmos, and be nourished from there. Otherwise, they would die, That was the highest ultimate initiation. After they would realize how they can tap into that energy, of course, and stay alive and stay in good condition, they were allowed to get out of the cave, and they were considered like masters or somewhat like a master healer. They were allowed to, they were fully trusted to then go to the villages and help people and so on. That was the ultimate initiation. So as you see, sunlight energy is not necessary. That was an extended answer, but just to know how ancient traditions were functioning. And I think India has the same initiation. I know the Kogi tradition. The Kogi tradition has the same initiation. The Kogis, which are masters in harmonizing the fields, the same as in our culture. They sometimes stay for 30 years in a cave, from the childhood until their 30-year anniversary. The most advanced ones, they are raised in a dark cave alone in meditations, and then they are allowed to get out in the world with all their senses super enhanced, and they're allowed to go to the cities or go in the forests and help the forest and the environment, and they are masters in field harmonizing. So many traditions have the initiation of this knowledge, and it's possible for all who are interested in doing the work, right? So thank you so much, Marius. Marius is actually a Romanian name. I'm surprised that you have it, because no one in the world, I mean, people who aren't Romanian, I haven't met this name in the world except for our country. So maybe you have Romanian origins of some sort. Because normally I don't tell the story all the time of this Romanian sage,
All right. Thank you, Alas, for the answers. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Have
you.
a nice one, whatever you're doing there.